Trigger warning. This episode may contain content that could be distressing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the New Earth podcast, recorded live from our vibrant New Earth cafe. Our surroundings are filled with authentic sounds and real actions, left unedited to preserve the genuine atmosphere we embody here at New Earth. Beverly, move forward closer so the whole world can hear you. I say the whole world, let's see. I mean, it's the first few podcasts. It takes a little time. So you're coming in early rather than a years later where it could be who knows how many people are watching by this point. So you're one of the first few guests. So you've literally part of, I would say, who knows, maybe it's a legacy. It's something that's beautiful and ugly because it means sharing all of ourself into something like this. And you know what? Owning it, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because whatever it is that's going to be shared, whatever we perceive in somebody else, it's in us anyway. And if we're judging it or somebody judges us, it's just a disowned part we haven't yet loved. So everybody's a teacher who shows up in our lives. So Beverly, how did you show up in our life? How did this come about?
So, Emily.
Emily.
You just called me Beverly.
Emily, Beverly, wow. Wow. Bryant.
This is okay, yep.
That's the Emily and...
Yep, they got mixed
the
together.
B, and then it became
Yep.
Beverly. Wow, I didn't even know a Beverly, but...
That's actually a really awesome way to start. That's completely taken the pressure off. I love it.
So there you go.
Perfect.
You see, I make the mistake. Now you feel, it's a gift. I've gifted you this so
Thank
I
you.
can look like this. So welcome, Emily.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
Yes. How did you hear about it? How do you know us?
So-
What is the story there?
So, for my business, I got Instagram maybe a year and a half or 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it was all very interesting, the
Yeah.
whole world appearing on this little platform. And somehow a little reel came up one day of you saying something and your wife, Julia, and it just resonated. There was something in me that just went, I'm going to speak to them one day. And so I got the message about this podcast a week ago. I was hesitating doing my own podcasts, and I thought, what better way than to jump in the deep end to speak to you, and here it is.
Beautiful. So this Instagram, this business that you started because you've been so kind to present me with a gift from a company you first started. And I noticed it's like a really cool way you put the gifts together. It's like the stone that you have in there and some of the salts and the tea. It's very beautiful. How did you go into this journey? Because I'm sure that you were not within this sort of field, that you may have had a past before this.
So that brand, Atman, began with a desire to want to take something called The Journey out to the world. So it's a form of therapy.
Yep.
It's about connecting with the soul and healing from that place.
Yep. I'm going to ask you this just because I want to
And
hear you.
what I found was I wanted to create something beautiful to gift to clients. Yeah, so people were coming in, they were dredging up their deepest, darkest, emotions and sorting through it. And so creating those teas, the bath salts, the oils was something to say it's all right. Go home. I can't be there with you to nurture you through the next week, but this gift can. So that's where that came from, was a wanting to support people through their own journey. When we get into that heavy stuff, it takes a toll physically and mentally. So that's where that came from. This has always been my path, really. Always learning, traveling and discovering, always seeking healing. Yeah.
Okay, so you're seeking healing. Where, and I feel like, I feel with you, like, because there's a quietness to you, but I feel that we're seeing just like the tip of you. and underneath there is certainly a story. And I feel like there's potentially like a volcano that's of energy that's behind you.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, the universal laws of duality is like we playing kind of timid and quiet, but really because the other side, there's the other side, the opposite of the timid and quiet, you know? So we will delve into that a little bit, but understanding, you know, this, you know, seeking, because whatever you seek, you'll always attract the opposite. So you're seeking, what are you seeking?
What I was seeking, what was I? Knowledge was the first one. So seeking, for so long I was seeking knowledge outside of myself, in the external world, until eventually there was nothing to be found there. So that's when I decided, well, it wasn't so much a decision really as a natural process of going inside and finding what was there.
Yeah.
I do have a very interesting story. There was a lot of chaos. It was, my life began, I could write a horror movie, to be honest, about things that happen. So there was always a seeking to find peace within that.
Okay. I had a sense.
Yeah.
And, you know, as you say, you know, when you're looking to seek for knowledge, the first of it, what are we really seeking for? To really give ourselves permission to love all of the horror stories that were once before.
Yeah.
But how?
Yeah,
because we're
right.
so right in our judgment, in our self-righteousness, that, you know what, that villain, they deserve X, and I was the victim. And to a degree that we have a story.
Yep.
That whatever that horror story was, if you were the villain or you were the victim, whatever it is, the characters that we made in our mental movie of the past that's happened, we look for the knowledge to really liberate us from hating the horror, to actually loving it, because we're tired of separating ourselves from what was, that we somehow don't own every aspect of ourselves in that moment and everybody else that was in our life then too. Yeah. Because when we hate and when we judge, when we in that horror place, we're not in love.
Yeah.
Which really is exhausting, because you say, I want to get back to the place of love and acceptance, but how can I when society says, well, that happened, then you cannot forgive because that would make X, Y, Z. And so then you're caught in this place of, I just want to love. I just need, what am I looking for? Where that can give me that permission to love. So going into the horror, let's say, let's carry into the horror. If you're happy to go there, because the fact I still hear horror means that you're still seeing there's more negatives than positives, which is fair enough, depending on what happened.
Now I can look back and see everything is beautiful at the end of the day. There's when you can move past the judgment, the good and the bad, and see it for what it is, what it was. It was an experience that it's what I came for. It's so how I see things today and who I am is so much more. Well, because of that, in a way. So there's things that, without having seen that level and depth of horror, I'm not sure I would comprehend the extreme nature of beauty and love in this human experience. I mean, we can move outside of that and it is what it is, right? We're who we are and it's beyond any of that. Yet having that experience, I can truly find forgiveness. I can truly find love for everything without picking and choosing between good and bad. So I wouldn't change any of it if it meant losing that. So it has required a lot of inner healing and, overcoming the emotions that were stored in my body, all of the beliefs, all of the thoughts, all of the humanness that comes with it, yeah? It required great dedication to clearing and cleansing all of that to be able to be in this place. So...
Part of me wants to go, okay, I want to know what this story is. And I'm sure people listening going, yeah, what is this story? And then a part of me is like, you know what, it's a story. And, everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And it seems like your story, it's okay to share because you're not hypnotized by the story and you're not a victim of it. It seems like it's a story of something that you've come out of because it was a story you told yourself because of a moment that happened. And the most difficult part was probably integrating that story rather than trying to, it's like run away from it by having to share that story to yourself because it's a nightmare. What do people want to do when they have a nightmare? Run away from it.
For me, it's quite a unique situation in that because of the extremity of the trauma that I went through, I actually forgot. I got to a certain age and it was like a mental wipe. It was gone. It was forgotten. So it wasn't until my mid to late 20s that I started checking inside.
Yeah.
And it was an uncovering of what had taken place. So up until that age, I told myself, I would have told you a story of, oh, this happened and la-di-da, and I'm so fortunate that these things never happened to me. So that's a survival mechanism that children often will take on. So what happened when I started to delve into that and uncover that was almost the opposite of what people go through, right? Was I had to realize that there was horror there. There was extreme trauma that I didn't know what was coming. Yeah, so it was undoing this story that I'd told myself and opening into something that I think most would run from. I am so curious. To me, truth is all that matters. So, yeah, it's been, another, 15 years of just uncovering deeper and deeper and deeper until I'm finally in a place, and I am aware to not let this become a story, of where I feel that I've unraveled. That the story's been released from my being. So it's almost like another lifetime ago now.
Well, it kind of actually is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the past doesn't exist, and
No.
every cell in our body regenerates every 7 years.
Exactly.
So really, what is there? What I loved is how you answered the questions that you shared, and even though we didn't know you, we saw it, and I just went, wow, you have a lot to share, and the way you think, and I can see that you've been on your journey of self-discovery. What was it that spurred you on to go within when you're in your mid-20s that you suddenly went, oh, let's lift the bonnet. Oh, dear, there was stuff in there. Okay, how do I close? No, I can't close it. It's coming out. Oh, my God.
So the first opening,
Yeah.
it was kind of one thing that led to the next. So I was living this story of telling myself all of these things, and I was bright and I was bubbly and capable of anything. And one day I went away on a holiday. Beautiful location, amazing apartment. I'm there with my best friend. Everything's should be fantastic. And I woke up and I couldn't stop crying. I woke up crying. And I just had this overwhelming emotion. And I thought, all right, go and have a shower. Wash it off. You'll be okay. And I wasn't. So I thought, let's go for a walk. Let's get a nice fresh juice. That'll make it okay. And it wasn't. Nothing I was doing, I couldn't think it away. I couldn't have a juice. I went into my favorite herbal store that has the most amazing plant selection ever. And by this point, I started to, it started to get caught up in my chest. And I must have known that there was a sort of release in that shop because I started to almost hyperventilate.
Wow.
And the lady went and made me a tea,
Wow.
which instantly I could breathe again. And I'd never had Reiki or anything, but there was a sign on the window that said Reiki here. And I thought, you know what? I'm at a point where I'm willing to try.
If that or a priest at that moment.
It was, yeah. And she said, I'm the lady who does Reiki, but I'm working till 9 p.m. tonight. I can't help you. And a part of me was just standing there looking at her like, there's something here. You do have a solution. What is it? And she says, oh, my mum is a journey therapist. Let's see if you can get a session with her. So I rang the mum on the spot. She said, I've got a spot tonight at 6 p.m., but I'm only charging $30 instead of $330 because it's at my home. So, you know,
Thank you.
Yeah, it was meant to be. And I went to this lady's house and I sat down on the chair with her, and instantly she guided me inside to that emotion that was there. And it just poured out. I left there going, what else is here? If this is what's happened today, what else is here? So I then booked, the first stage of the course was in New Zealand. So I booked the course. I found really cheap tickets. Everything just lined up.
Everything in sync. Yeah, I love it.
And I went in, I remember on the first day of the course was all, you know, easing everyone in, making them feel comfortable. The second day I got in and I felt this, I need to be sick. And I thought, what? I haven't eaten anything strange or anything. And I said to my instructor, what's going on? I want to be sick. He said, it's just energy trying to get out of your body. Yeah,
Of course.
you're going to process.
Purge.
Yes. So I went into the bathroom and blackness. I hadn't eaten anything. I'm super curious, so I'm looking at it trying to pinpoint what chemical reaction has happened to create this colour. You know, I was really intrigued by what my body was doing.
Wow.
And that day I had my first opening session, and it opened into being abused as a young person by the one person I would have told you was the safest male in my world. So there was an element of shock. But more than anything, there was this curiosity at how does this work? How can I have forgotten this? How can I have overridden every drive? Yeah, I mean, I went and lived with this man in my early 20s. I went back into that very environment with no idea all of the signs that were there. I used to get so confused, thinking, why are people acting so strange around me? So that was what drove me to then say, right, how is this body, how is this mind working, and how can I just get to the truth?
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so raw and not looking at it going straight into victim. It's, wow, that's intriguing.
Oh, yeah.
That is quite, well, how did that happen? You know, I appreciate that and I recognize it because I see that in myself.
Yeah.
Because it's not about getting hooked onto the story about actually what happened. It's just going, why did I not remember it?
Yeah.
And in fact, it's like when you understand that, you know, judgment and resentment is poisoning yourself, the last thing you want to do is, if something did happen, it's like, no, I forgive whatever. I do not want to hold that poison in my body for whatever happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because like, oh, if that did happen, okay, so be it. If I hold on to it and make it mean something, then I'm only going to hurt myself.
Oh.
You see?
Yeah.
So, of course, you know, something happened in that time. And, you know, when your ego detaches itself from the body when something happens, like an abuse in some way. And so the mind goes, but the body, there's a really cool book called The Body Always Keeps the Score.
Yeah.
And the body remembers.
Oh, yeah.
Yet the mind has no idea. And you're just going on about your life, but you're triggered and you're not sure why. You may have intimate issues or you might have certain issues, but you don't know why. And you're not even sure where it even comes from. So when you went to this journey with this lady, what was that feeling that she touched on?
The first one was abandonment. So it was, I opened into this. So you work through what's at the top, yeah? What's at the top that's causing these tears and this stress. And you work through till you get to what's at the core of that, yeah? What's this really about that I'm feeling right now? Because it's not a single story. It's not a single event. It's a feeling that I'm holding inside of me. And that first one was abandonment. So I can go into the story around that, yet what releasing that feeling did for me was helped me understand my connection again. Yeah, so when I could release that, oh, I've been abandoned, and move into, whoa, I'm connected to something so, there are no words for it, and that's where you heal from.
Well, you can only heal when you realize there's that feeling inside you, and like that feeling of abandonment, because I've had to deal with that when I lost my mother at a young age.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have these abandonment issues. And what is abandonment? You know, it's our inner child thinking that the world has abandoned us.
Yep.
And then we grow up still as that inner child, and now we're in a bigger body.
Yep.
But we still perceive the world as if we're abandoned, but we just suppressed it. And so we behave in such a way that we instigate situations and relationships where we feel we're going to be abandoned because that's our set point, that's our familiarity, that's what we know.
Yeah.
And I've been in these situations, and, you know, still coming to this point in my life that finally healing it. But what really is abandonment? Well, I'm not going to abandon myself. And I have abandoned myself many a times in the past. I've lived my life, and it's, you know, going in the book to see, you know, the complexities, you know, of looking at the older. If I see the older as the Alex, the idiot, not as a judgment, it's just the phrase meaningful when you're living your lower values and you're just being instinctive, you're reactive, you know, basically living in a world where you think you can separate pleasure from pain, you know, it's futile. And the new earth is the higher self. It's the creative, unconditional, loving being. It's this freedom from all of these conditions, you know. So it's a place to discern. And I see your situation that you had this one session and you noticed this thing and you released it as quickly as you did. But I can see that was just the beginning of your journey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was the beginning. But having that, it's that connectedness. It's that when you experience that oneness on that level, how do you not do everything to live in that? Yeah.
Well, did you get it from that in your 20s, that one session, and you've been like that throughout? Or have you connected to it and go, wow, I've released something and I just want to stay within that oneness feeling? Or have you kind of gone, because I've been there and then gone this way and that way and this way and that way?
Yeah, definitely been through what I'll call the ego travels of how I've perceived the way to heal things, hasn't always been what's really in my best interest, but
Okay.
it was necessary. It was beautiful.
It is what it is.
I have to say that I may have been a slightly unique child in that if you had have asked me at a very young age, I would have told you I love everyone, we're all love, it's all okay, even though I was growing up in a not so loving environment.
I hear you.
Yeah.
There's something called, when you have the universal duality of balance, when you're in an environment, let's say, that you perceived as negative, where there's, abuse going on. I use that term loosely because within the New Earth realm, there is no such thing as abuse. There's no such thing as victim. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
Because when you see, if abuse is when you see more negatives than there are positives, but you can't have a negative without positive. It's just a matter of perception.
Yeah.
When people are like, no, I'm holding on to it. I was abused. And I get it, but who does that serve? When we hold that. And I can see that you're elevated, and this is about you're seeking the truth more than holding on to a story. And this is why I really appreciate you being here, because we can delve into this. So
yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, and it's like unpacking it because it's like understanding it for other people who can relate. Of course they can. And the fact you're sitting here like, this happened, wow, like a scientist, that's an interesting. How did that experiment end up with this, Why is blackness coming out? Let's look into that. Okay, So it's like awesome because it's that intriguedness rather than being it, you're sort of observing it.
Yeah.
So you're the observer, knowing that your higher self was there, observing you, Emily, not Beverly.
Not Beverly.
And so when you were observing, it was like you not detaching. You were just observing the Emily that had that experience, and your higher self was ultimately there, going, "I haven't abandoned you. I've always been here.
Yeah.
I am love," and that's what you connect to. So going back to the negative environment you had around you, to balance you out, something called homeostasis, when the brain automatically adjusts.
Yep.
Though you're going through a negative experience, to counterbalance it, you supported yourself because you were challenged. So you found that love within yourself. That's what the gift was of the perpetrator who abused you, who was actually let's call it the agent of the universe, a guardian angel, if you will. Like, what? This craziness to lead you to who you become.
Yeah.
Like everything is all in divine timing, and it's just that.
Yeah, it really is. And it's so beautiful. It is. And it's challenging to share this story. And I think this is what I, on some level, was looking forward to today, was because people don't see this. If I refrain from telling many people about this because they instantly feel sad for me, or they have their own emotions, and I find myself having to
Help
nurture them through that. And
because of what it invokes in them, it's now about them. It's not about you. You're sharing it. It's now about them, and then whatever they project onto you. If they feel like they need to nurture you, they're really nurturing themselves. If they feel sorry for you, they're feeling sorry for themselves.
Yeah.
So anyway,
and which is expected, right?
Yeah.
And what I find is I can touch on little things, and that's that person's level of extremity. When in my world, we haven't even uncovered the tip of the iceberg. Yeah? To go into what would happen, what happened would be, I'm not sure the world's ready for this level of...
Well,
no, that's
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, if you're ready, then you are the world at the end of the day. And if your voice feels like it needs to, then it needs to. We can, whatever the pull is, I mean, it's your journey at the end of the day. And if you're fearful of what other people will perceive it, well, you're not going to get from me. There's no pity that's going to come from me, because I understand that the divine laws in place are actually, everything's here to serve you, and everything that's happened to all of us, and we've all got our stories, is out of love. Nothing happened to us.
Yeah.
The phrase is all for us, for our development, for our growth, to find that truth.
And it is, it really is. I have come disastrously close to death 4 times before I was 9 years old, at the hands of very, very interesting people, we'll call them, because they're not your normal people. Yeah, these aren't normal circumstances. And what this has done has allowed me to be able to see everyone, no matter what they are, and to find that we're all here, this really is all one. Yeah, and if I can't look at that, then I can't really look at anything. So, yeah, I'm grateful, I'm thankful, and that's something most people can't comprehend, because I think
So you nearly
Yeah.
die 4 times before the age of 9, and I always hear 9 as a magic number, and that's when I lost my mum when I was 9 years old. And I remember watching films, and any time the character of something happened to them, they're always 9 years old.
yeah, I know.
And I look at it and
right?
go, why are they always 9? Because I'd noticed it, because I was 9 when something happened. So in all the movies, he was 9 years old, she was 9 years old. So, you know, it's very cryptic, obviously, your story. And it's like a part of you going, you know what, if you whatever you want to share, you need to share. And, you know, it sounds like whatever happened to nearly die 4 times is quite an extreme way of living. Or
Yeah.
not nearly not living, because of the type of characters you had around you. That goes to the depth of, well, if you're willing to go, well, there's no resentment there, and I understand everything was governed within the universal law to lead me to where I am today, then I'm actually grateful and I appreciate them for the act of what's happened. Then anybody else watching, well, why would you then think it's okay to hate them when you're showing the way that actually there's just love, and that's
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So everybody has then an excuse of no, because this happened, and but it only costs you, the person who's holding on to that pain, no matter what happened, that you're the one who's actually shortchanging yourself, because you're not then able to love. You've disowned a part of yourself because you projected onto that person
Yeah.
that you've yet to love in yourself. And we're talking the depths of Jesus Christ here, you know, of
Yeah.
that level of compassion and love. Got to be careful with the word compassion. There's a reason why, but the idea of just loving, because we recognize that we are our perpetrator, we are the villain, we are the victim, we are all of it. So we're none of it, but we're all of it.
Right? Yeah.
So feel free. The stage is yours. I'm not abandoning you.
It's, you know, to have these experiences, overcoming the horror is one thing. You've got to overcome the physiological response of the body and the mind. That's a given. Yeah, it's overcoming those things means we can then look at what really is. And I think a lot of people have this idea of, well, everything's just pure light and love and great. And it is, yet within that is the freedom of complete expression of everything that can be.
Light is only light because it's relative to dark. You can't have the light without the dark. And people want to maybe run from the shadow aspects of themselves, but rather than that, they need to integrate that.
Yes, exactly. And that's, I think, what these experiences have offered me, is an opportunity to go and look at the darkest of the dark. Like, it doesn't get much darker, and I'm
That's
very
how much light you have, that you
Yeah.
can step in that darkness and go, well, here's the light I have.
Well,
So you're not afraid of it.
Well, what we are is what we are. And when you're in a situation like that, there is no other way. You either fully be what you are, or you succumb to the physical world. Yeah, it's that's the level these situations were at. So that shows to me just that everything is exactly how it's supposed to be. There is a design so grand and so perfect. Everything is perfect. It can't be anything but perfect. That's the truth. And to see that in that level of duality in this experience, whoa, that's awesome.
And that says a lot from what it sounded like, the experience that you've had from the darkness, that you've come from, where most people would see it as only that, but you see the light in that situation.
Well, it is when you are. It's like this dance, yeah, this dance of light and dark. We can call it good and evil. I think those words are so old and outdated, though, to be honest. And I know there's many people that will disagree and say, but there's so much evil in the world. And I say to that, is there really? What is it that you're really perceiving? Yeah, because that's a word, that's a label that you've placed on it, based on how you feel about it. Yet the truth is something more than that. And yeah, I think that's where I was able to see that. So it's this dance when your partner presents one way, you know are given that opportunity to react another way. So
It's a matter
wow.
of perspective, yeah. And because my wife, she, has a perspective, and I realized when we were last talking, like I have my perspective, and she has her, and she was like, "Oh, but we have one perspective because we're together in love, in one." And there's my ego, like, no, but everyone has their own perspective. Then I realized that she's communicating. I was thinking about it today, that I really love our perspective that we have together of the world and what we're building.
Yeah.
And I've got to say that all the other people have their own perspectives, but what my wife and I are building, and people like you that we're attracting to us, there's this trust of knowing that something is divine that's happening, that our perspective just seems so balanced and so loving, that the things that are coming out, like the New Earth Cafe and the self-love store and these projects that are just coming out, and the podcast, is like I'm seeing this, and there's something that's saying like this, you're onto something here.
Yeah,
that
you are.
it's like it's a birth, like
Yeah.
something is like, oh my God, like biblical, and going through the good and evil. And I've read the the Bible and the Quran, and of course when the times back then, they needed to use these as a tool to help nudge people in the right direction, let's say, because there was probably chaos and madness and dark times, So it was tools, and religion came out of trauma. It came out of the dark times, and Saint Augustine had to write this beautiful, say, poem of what heaven is, so people feel like, well, that's where they want to be, but you have to behave like X, Y, Z, and so it's all a sort of way of like a sheepdog guarding the sheep and putting it into the area. I'm not a farmer, so I but the shepherd, and that's where it all came from, because Muhammad was a shepherd, I believe, and and there was biblical times that they were within that. It was a symbolism, they were leading their sheep into somewhere, and people just didn't know what to follow. They just had no purpose, no direction, and when you are lost, well, it leads to debauchery, but with purpose leads to. The phrase is, money without purpose leads to debauchery, and money with purpose leads to philanthropy. But, a life with purpose allows you to live by your genius. In life without purpose, you live by your idiot,
Yeah.
So, I feel like people, like, we're on the cusp of you sharing something here that you feel like you kind of want to and not to, because you feel it's so deep and dark. But if you're ever with somebody who can handle the deepest and darkest...
Yeah, wow. It's there's a lot more. I think a good way to explain this is the world we see around us, right? Everything we can touch, you and me right here. If we want to look at it in scientific terms, this is only 4% of what exists. Like, we're looking at 4% of what exists in our, atomic world. Right? 4% is what we perceive and think is going on around us. That leaves 96% beyond our
comprehension.
And So we have all of these stories, and it's beautiful. Like, it's like we're little babies at the moment in this playground, looking around and getting an idea for how everything tastes and feels and looks. And we are waking up to what is really here. From my experience, there is a lot to that people might want to look away from for a little while. Yeah, and go, oh, no, I'd rather not see that, thank you. Yet, trust me, when you can when you can look at that and not shy away, you will see what's really beyond that. And it is worth every moment of it.
So what do you mean by the beyond it? The darkness, the shame, what people would not be willing to go to, the depths of the shadow aspects of themselves, the things that they would go, no, I don't want to go there, it's too ugly.
Yeah, and our world at large, what's going on behind the scenes, if we want to call it that, yeah, it's how our world is operating is not really how we think it's operating. And this is where I do tread carefully, because once again, this is my perception and understanding of it, right? So I can only speak from my own experience, which is ever changing and expanding.
Nice, nicely put.
Yeah, so yeah, I feel like we're on the precipice of something truly incredible. If only people will encompass it all and know that we will all get through this.
There is certainly, I feel you, and it's been like a build-up or something for quite a long time.
Yeah.
The shift of consciousness. And I think the best way to explain it for my wife and I, what came to us, was just call it the new earth. It's our anchor to the changes that are going to happen around the world. You know, like the biblical times back then, when the waters, swam through people, and Noah had his ark ready. You know, there was all these sort of biblical times where people knew something was coming and they prepared themselves. And people just, think, how would you know? So, but there's a knowing that something's coming. Like, why are we in Dubai? We're in the Middle East, in the middle. The world's around. I'm from the UK. You're from Australia. I had a New Zealander on yesterday. And, what brings us here in Dubai? And it's sort of like the Noah's Ark to a degree. There's things going on. There's a transition. Whatever you're holding on to, the old paradigm, the old system, if you hold on too tightly, you can go down with the ship.
Yep.
And it's that idea of, this is why we're doing this right now, because I grew up with a very sort of skeptical family. My father's very skeptical. And, we're worm food if we die. And, people in religion, are, not sound of mind and things like that.
Yeah, okay.
So it kept me kind of like skeptical as well in life, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
So I didn't just go off, because I'm quite impressionable.
Yeah.
And I go, but I always bring myself back to myself. I don't just follow. When I was a Tony Robbins speaker representing Tony Robbins, I could have just stayed with Tony Robbins. And he was my, my mentor. He's the one. But I was like, okay, I lived that kind of world for a bit. That's not the way. He might be showing the way, but it's not the way. Yep. And there were other leaders like Dr. John DiMartino I'm listening to now. And it's like, okay, that's the way, but it's not the way. And there's all these different things. It's like, okay, what is the way? And coming to that place of, okay, I'm starting to trust my own higher self, like you looking outside yourself and going, well, I am the way. Yeah. In fact, there's nobody else up to follow. I am the way, because that is my higher self. Everybody else's views are subjective. If 96%, as you said, 96% of what we're perceiving is just filling in the gaps, which, lack of transparency breeds speculation. We're all just speculating what reality is, really, than knowing what reality is. And I think when we grasp that, and you become that student, and you don't go into the place of I know. And I was a teenager going, I know a lot.
Oh,
and
I thought I knew it all, and even into my 20s.
Oh yeah. And sometimes it even shows up now, but realizing
same.
that when I learn something else, I'm like, good God, I know nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that increases our percentage. And it's funny you say 96%, because I feel like 4% of the population are actually in this place of evolving an evolution of consciousness, and 96% of the population are still in that seeking place of seeking pleasure without pain. You know, they're still knocking around, not understanding how the universal laws actually work, and they just sort of, they're in their id, they're in their lower values, they're not in their higher self. And this is what this is all about for people like, you know, you who jump on going, I've been in the darkest trenches, you know, my own war and my own battle. But in that place, you know, like when any seed is planted, where does it start? It starts in the deepest, darkest places where there's feels like there's no oxygen. And then that seed, from that darkness, you know, there's a spirit in it. There's a need to grow that breaks through the soil and pops up. And then it's the sunlight. There's the light I've been waiting for. And then it feeds off that light, and then it grows and grows. And then you have these humongous trees. I mean, here in Al Barari in Dubai, we've got these beautiful trees around us. This oasis,
So
you know, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That is what we're all the seed, you know, and it's a seed like the micro and the macro, and like we have that darkness within ourselves, and we're just waiting for, you know, the biblical text like that, Jesus coming along and putting the seed in people because they didn't have it, and he came and he needs to help people to find that light because they were so bleak and they didn't know that there was there and it was possible. And it's like, there's the seed. Where's the sunlight coming from? Well, that's your higher self that's looking. That's the fuel. That's where it comes from. That's the seed that's going to grow within you from all the darkness that you've come from. Because it's a kind of act of a miracle, isn't it? When you grow up and you perceive your reality to be one way through the darkness, whatever it might be for some, that means that when you do pass through it, the light that you feel allows you to become the bigger tree, to become shelter for so many people. And that's what your story is about.
Yeah.
That your seed is growing so that you can be that tree and shelter so many people.
Yeah. And just letting people know that there's no pain or fear or anything that we can't go through. It's all, if we want to experience the truth of ourselves, it's encompassing it all, and saying, well, what's really here, and just getting in there, deep diving, seeing what's been stored in this body, what's going on in this mind. People believe their own thoughts. People get around daily having thoughts, thinking that they're real and that they're true. And to me now, that's kind of almost like, come on, if you could just start to question your own thoughts, there's a beautiful step toward getting to the truth of the matter.
Well, if you can absorb your thoughts, observe your thoughts, then you know you're not your thoughts. So at least that's like if I'm observing the thoughts, then I'm not the thoughts.
Exactly.
Oh, I have a choice.
And then questioning them. From that place of observation, experiencing the thought and then going, well, hang on, is that true? And having that access to that eternal you, that it knows the truth. The mind might have to do a bit of work to integrate that knowledge and reshuffle itself. But it's a beautiful conversation. And I think, to me, that's a normal conversation. I often wonder why isn't everyone having this level of conversation? What do you do at night? What do you do when you lay down at the end of the day? Like what's going on in your world that this dialogue isn't there?
Back in the days, in London, I think a lot of dialogue was about EastEnders, TV soap.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
It's like what you're watching on TV, sort of the mundane stuff that you listen to the radio. And you know what? that's my point of some people were either born in the dark and they needed to go on that journey to seek and grow through it. And that's the gift of what you were given, that it gave your life purpose, gave yourself meaning. Because if you didn't have that, you would just be maybe knocking about at the surface because you had no real reason to dig deep.
Yeah, I guess that, and that's where I am thankful, and I am thankful for the experiences I've had, because that has become my normal. Yeah, that, and I guess, I think we're all at that place now, though. I think we're at a place where that internal dialogue is happening for people. They're just not sure how to talk about it with their friends yet, with the people they care about. It's happening, and I think that's what this new earth is about, is we're waking up from inside, yeah, and the opportunities are there, and they're beautiful.
Well, it's that skepticism I was going back about, what I learned, that what I believed in the old earth way was there is no gods, there is no anything, which is quite a thing to take on when your mum's died, that you think, okay, well, she's worm food, you know. As a kid, there's no point believing that, you know, Santa Claus is real, that somehow it's all random and it's all meaningless, as my father portrayed, which I'm so grateful he did, because I lived that life. Yeah, and it led me to hit a brick wall, which was my own life experience that's going in the book, because how I can articulate it will be so much better than what I can say right now. But that led me to go on the path I'm on. So I had to go from one extreme of meaningless to then go into life of meaning and purpose. And I'm like, whoa, there is something here. Like, why was this hidden? This has been hidden from my own father as well. Oh, and it's like, oh my God, like the treasure chest, the gems, the golden nectar. Like, my God, I mean, they had it right 2,500 years ago in the biblical text, and people laugh and think, well, you know, what do they know? They, you know, but there's a part of it that there was something they know, that there was something more than just the flesh, that spirit, that ever, when you're in that place of purpose, time, you know, time is relative, and when you're in that place, it's like you transcend time and space. There's a continuum of energy that just flows through you. Because you're just pulled because it's like, you know, it's like a mischievous smile on your face. Like, how does nobody knows? How's this? No, what? It's like, I can imagine how Einstein felt when E equals MC squared, when it kind of came to him, like, you know, this sort of, this realization, this you know, like this freeing, because if the world has been taught this stuff, and you, like, I grew up in that world, you know, and suddenly it's like, wow, there's like this mysticism. There's kind of magic to it. Yeah. You know, there's like, there's wonder, and you're like, this childlike sense comes back over you. Like, wow, there's that child, that wonder.
What a gift! How you just put that and shared that. That is beautiful, and it once again puts things in perspective, because it's like, well, what a joy, right? Coming from one side where it's. You said, you know, worms eat you. There's this skepticism. There's this, you know, just not having that feeling, and then coming to that brick wall and finding that. What a gift that is. You know, for me, I'm sitting here saying, well, it was my normal in a way, and why doesn't everyone have this? When I would never take that from someone, that discovery, that revelation, in order to have it from the beginning. So it all just, you know, it's all beautiful, isn't it? You just see all the different ways it moves and flows for. I love that you shared that. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm loving what you're sharing. And, you know, when we come to that moment of realization and you say revelation, then it's that wherever you are in your journey, when you find that and you go, wow, there's that shift, like a light switch, you know, like it just comes. Yeah. Some is more of a like, they're gradual, you know. Some are like click, you know, and everybody has their process. Nobody's wrong or right. Nobody's
Right,
stupid or smart. It's just the journey. It's just where it's meant to be. And if you're supposed to get it in this lifetime, great. If not, great. It just is what it is, you know. And it's like the idea that, you know, but like the wars that happen, but what happened to children, that, you know, deaf and dead, like that's something wrong. And we're like, well, how do we know that? That's our perception, to make death wrong. Like that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
What do we know?
Yeah,
What is on the other side, you know, of this? Because energy can either be created nor destroyed. Everything just changes form. And it's like, we hear that, and the most, you know, Nobel Peace Prizes winners have said this stuff, but, you know, what does that really mean?
Yeah.
But, you know, it is that understanding that the universal laws are in play, that we are, again, all one. It's like, I'm going to sing Kumbaya again or something. But it's, when you really understand it, then you're letting go of the need to survive.
Yeah.
Because it's the surviving, the idea of, well, I need to survive, because that's the moment you're born, that ultimately we all want to try to survive. When you're in survival, you're living your amygdala, which means you're living your id, the idiot self, your lower values. And because you're reactive and you're seeking pleasure, trying to avoid pain, and in that place, we are just a body that ends up as worm food.
Yep.
That is true.
Yep.
Based on our perception. When you step into the higher self and you see the genius flow and all these beautiful things that come through, then you realize that, yes, we are worm food to the body, but the soul that observes the reality that we see, like, you know, you can't have one without the other. Well, matter, we're matter. What's the opposite of matter? Well, antimatter. So antimatter and matter, when they meet, creates photons of light. So we're just observing matter and antimatter coming together like a projector, creating this movie.
Yeah.
And we're observing it, which means that we're transcendental, we're omnipotent, we're omniscient, we're neither. We're neither matter or antimatter. We're the observers. So
This is,
you see, it's like, hello,
yes.
you know.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? What access do we actually have when we really embody that? The depth of going into the darkness that you said you've been in, died nearly 4 times before the age of 9, to not even remember it, and to be around those people when you're in your early 20s.
Yeah.
To then come to that realization, and to be sitting here going, I'm afraid to share it with people because I'm more afraid about their reaction to it. Rather than like, hello, I'm here and I'm cool. You know, I just want to share this. So, you know, and it's that because you stepped into the observer.
Yep.
You're not the the Emily in the movie. You're the one watching Emily in the movie.
Well, it even goes beyond that, doesn't it? I'm beyond that, creating the observer. That's
Bingo.
yeah, and I love to me, this is sounds a bit out there to some people, but this is my kind of normal.
You're in the New Earth Cafe and what we just talked about. Is there anything out there anymore?
To me, it's our eternal self is that. Look, I'm not going to try and pin words on something that really has no words. Yet my experience is that what we are always is. It's perfect. It's constant. There's so much more. This life, this birth, this death, this all that comes in between is so much fun. It's like Bill Hicks once explained it. It's like a roller coaster. It's bright and it's colourful, and for a while you think it's real, and then you realise it's okay. Yeah, it's just, this is something we're having, and people want to judge the darkness and the pain and all of this, and it's like, well, this is an experience you chose to have. Like, literally, this is a unique experience in the reality of your existence and what you are. And I can feel this starts to turn my tummy. Like, I understand it can be very challenging for people to try and think about these concepts. It literally can cause a little
disturbance.
Yeah, it's that woozing in the body that, you know, some people will get a bit of nausea, some will get dizziness. I've learnt with my own husband where to where to push to and where to stop, where it becomes a bit too much for the mind to conceptualize, and where I'm gonna lose him. And this is where a lot of people, I'll say it, I believe psychedelics should be a part of everyone's passage into adulthood, because it literally allows the brain to see beyond that 4% to what actually is there. And when people can see and conceptualize that, you start to remember, oh, that's right, hang on, and life becomes fun. All of it is this experience that's so, it's amazing. Look at it. Like, look at us walking around in bodies and having thoughts. This is unique. I love it.
I agree. Absolutely. Every single modality is worth exploring.
Yeah.
And, you know, like a journalist, you're going around, you're documenting, like you're intrigued. So you're going, what is this? And you start to go on this journey of psychedelics as well. And look, I went down to modalities, as I said, Tony Robbins, Dr. John DeMartini, NLP, and then, you know, you do all of these different things.
Yeah.
And okay, well, I'm scratching the surface here. And then you go into the psychedelic realm and you start to, you know, there's people out there who say no, you know, gurus like Sadhguru and, you know, other teachers will sort of say you don't need to do it. There's meditation to get you there. And I say, you know what? Absolutely, there's meditation. Yeah. And Ram Dass, I just finished reading his book, actually. He was a Harvard professor, Ram Dass. So then he was realizing he was sort of theorizing a lot. And then he stepped out of that world and went on to this sort of journey within, and he took a lot of LSD. And, you know, it's finding that suddenly the theory becomes a reality. You know, now you've actually got experience rather than just theorizing. Yeah. And I thought to myself, well, I want to experience absolutely everything, because experience is more than anything you would ever read. You know, if somebody wrote about music or wrote about, you know, what the cathedral looks like and you're reading it.
Right.
Well, that's one thing, but when you're actually there, it's another thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, these different modalities allow you to reach an aspect of yourself that you didn't even know existed, because what you see is yourself in that modality. Whatever that drug or medicine is, you know, once you see something that this modality that's giving you, you know, like a kaleidoscope, you see something that you didn't know existed before, but only that element activated something that's already inside you for you to see yourself show up in that form. Who are we to judge and say, well, we shouldn't do this and this? Well, I've just learned something about myself through that modality. Some people can obviously lose it because maybe they're not ready to take that leap into the psychedelic realm.
100%.
You know, and that's all dependent on the person.
Yeah, and I think if we were to normalize such things in society and provide avenues that are safe and that are guided, and that it's, you know, I mean, what, drinking alcohol is normal, honestly, yet these
That's
things
the old earth,
aren't.
I'm telling you.
So this is where I think we need to make it a natural and healthy transition into these things, because I am well aware of the many repercussions that are not repercussions. Anything's possible. That's what we have to understand. But I think if we could use these tools, we could start to really expand naturally. It's, to me, it should be a given.
You know what? It's like anything. There's positives and there'll be also negatives. But at the end of the day, you know, I had this idea of like, you know, what is the old earth? What's it based on? You know, and I remember hearing somebody saying America's like the best system ever. And I went, well, probably nature is the best, you know, system. It's all sustainable, you know. But where have we got lost? You know, it's the idea of profit, capitalism, and things like that. However, there's been its positives, you know. The fact that we have this way of communicating to the whole world now, there's so many positives from it, just as there are negatives. And
houses
we need to learn.
Fun. Houses,
yeah,
and
you know,
cars
there's things like this. So we've you know, we're moving, we're growing, and you know, with regards to like bringing psychedelics in, yes, it's going to have a lot of negatives, but it's also going to have a lot of positives leading towards rather than profit being the importance, what about human expansion of consciousness
100%.
being the leading cause of why we're here on Earth?
Yep.
Not profit
Yep.
and shareholders, but how do we raise consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what would the world look like if we start moving in that direction? And we start having these little pop-ups and people are becoming more creative, and especially we're moving into the world of AI and automation and robots and technology, that all these old jobs will become
Obsolete.
obsolete.
Yeah.
That's the word. So we already know there's going to be problems later on. Well, it's leading us towards finding a solution. That's what we do. And rather than resist what's happening, you know, there's always going to be a problem, and we're going to find a solution to that problem, and there's going to be a problem to that solution, and so forth and so forth and so forth. It's just about not being in the victim mindset and going, I'm an expansive being, that if I stand here and go, what can I be of value? Well, I need to learn more about myself and who this higher self is. What is it I feel more drawn to? And how does that I feeling drawn to can help serve the world through what I love to do?
Yep.
And then we all find out what that is with each other and go, well, you can do this and I love this, and we can all integrate this, and we're all moving towards this oneness.
Because it's here already. That's the thing. Where each of us come in with this uniqueness and this beauty to share with the world. So yeah, I think we're right on the edge. There's just, you know,
We are where we're meant to be.
Exactly.
And everything's happening in divine time. This is what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm just getting out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm just doing my best to get out of the way, and the idea of thinking that I need to do this or it's got to be this way. I'm just like, just Alex, just Alex, be so kind, dear. Just step over here. Let me just show up now. And then the Alex is like, but okay.
But you're supposed to do this at this time.
Yeah, and it's like
that.
this, and I'm just like with the flow, and it's like now I'm becoming more disciplined and you know, looking at my time and putting a book together, and I'm reading all these other books, and it's like I'm drawing, so I don't even know why I'm reading these books.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like,
Yeah.
but then suddenly I'm writing something, and my higher self just comes out, and I'm looking at it going, oh my, who? Like, and the Alex is looking at it going, I'm learning something.
Yeah.
Here. So then, if I'm learning, who's
driving this?
And I know it's the higher self. It's just going,
And
don't you
then-
worry, kiddo. You sit back and watch what's going to happen.
Right.
Okay.
And life then takes on this new level of wow. And you start to see how everything leading up until this moment was perfect
Yeah.
for this moment. Every person you've met, every place you've been, every conversation you've had, every single thing is just, there's this divine order that makes you want to then take another step back and go, all right, well, what else can take place here? And it really is stepping into the unknown. It just, not in the way we thought we knew it, right? I love it.
This is what I'm saying. It's something that seems so... There's... Because, you know, what does it all come down to? Like, there's so many different methods and beliefs and things like that. I did this course at the Oxford, and it was about philosophy of religion. And I had to deal with my own fears of being stupid. You know, at school, I dropped out early. I dropped, like... And I became a chef. And, you know, because I just thought I was stupid. That's just who I thought I was, you know? And... So I've like, now I'm going to go and challenge the Oxford, and I know these insecurities come up. You know, I'm in this Oxford because like, I felt like my higher self wanted to show up, and it was timid. You know, like, oh no, what if I'm getting judged? And so then I started putting it out there and becoming more confident of the point of view of not philosophical, but it's sort of a matter of fact, so we can move on now. What's the point of all this, you know, intellectual ping-ponging?
Banter.
You know, this sort of like ego, intellectual, like, you know, caressing of each other's egos and intellect. And I'm like, and then you feel like if you put your heart there, that the intellect is going to reverse, like a fencing. You're like fencing with someone. Ding, ding, no, but this is wrong and that's right.
You do it inside yourself as well as what
Exactly.
you
So you're having this
catch.
sort of thing, and then I'm just like, what is real? And it was my testing ground to kind of deal with the inner child's like fear of being stupid. That with an institute like Oxford and putting myself out there.
Yeah,
like,
that's a big one.
You know, and it was like, okay, there I am doing it, having to read about this philosopher, watch this video, and I was just like, this is so heady. I was like, this is so heady, man. And I think to myself, there's a question here. Why do I need to search for the answer in all of these different people and read all this text when I feel like I've got the answer already here?
Yeah, yeah.
And I just was like, I felt like I had to read it. And I was just like, but then I feel like I'm cheating if I don't. If I just show up the answer, then I'd be like, the answer just came so easy. That would be cheating. I need to work hard for it, right? Right? I'm not and I just thought to myself, and sometimes the questions got so complex, I just went to ChatGPT halfway through it. Can you just tell me what this question means? Oh, that's what it means. So now I can answer.
Yep, we've made good friends recently.
Yeah, because I can talk to ChatGPT, and it's like it's quite objective. It's more objective than it is subjective.
Does what I ask it
Yeah,
to. That's
and
what
I
I like.
ask it
There's
to.
no opinions
Yeah,
or...
it's just exactly, and it's just
You
like,
know.
and it makes the message, and you get your message is in there. You're like, okay, awesome. Can you just tweak this? Can you? Because I love to produce. Like, there's a movie in my head, and I want to produce it to the world. And there's there's stuff going on, and how we see it, and what the New Earth Cafe and self-love, and how we branch around the world, and what it's all going to be doing. It's going to.
Oh, this is really exciting.
And it's things like this, and like people like you, and I think to myself, well, this is something else, because what I'm writing is, I'm using Alex as an example of the old Earth, the idiot.
Okay.
And the highest self, and where it shows up, is the genius.
Yep.
So people can relate, and they can see the story of Alex, you know, like an evolution of man.
Yep.
But rather than an ape, even though in a way the amygdala is the ape, and then we become the spirit.
See what you're...
So you see what I mean? Like, there I am, probably doing all sorts of silly and stupid things. And then it's kind of that, you know, that energy, that gunk that comes out, and you're like, whoa, what is this? Like, here I am, like this evolved being that's moving away from here to the prefrontal, to the executive function, to the spirit, where before it's just a ray of mess. But all that mess makes sense when you come from the higher self and go, but that's all the reason towards the evolution.
Yep.
That's led you here. You're like, oh, dung. And so Alex is the example of leading up to that evolution of consciousness, because the best way I feel is the story. When people can relate to the story, they can read themselves. And through the journey is one thing. And it's also going to be a manual to guide people from the old Earth to the new Earth. Ooh. And what does that look like? And what is the vision? Because I can see so many people on the podcasts, and I know like Russell Brand's out there, you know, they're focusing on the news and, you know, the establishment. We've got to be careful with the establishment. And I get that, but whatever you focus on will grow, you know, and it will expand. And I know that awareness is important, but once you become, say, aware of the negative and you keep focusing on the negative, then you're going to keep getting more of that. And then if you seek a side, then when you find a side and go, well, they're wrong and this is the right way, well, then you're going to keep them there because you need to balance it out.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Rather than being on one side of the seesaw, how about just being in the middle? And then you don't have to keep going up and down. So from that place, it's right. Now there's not the emotional entanglement of who's wrong and who's right. Now there's just a point of center. Now it's a place of producing. How do we actually create what everybody's trying to say? Yeah. You know? And I feel like my life purpose is led to this. Because my father, with all of his, the way he is, he's a big character. He produced music television. Like it didn't exist before. And he produced, you know, Buggles' Video Killed the Radio. So he produced that video, the first ever video on MTV. So he created an industry. And then when that kind of died out, my mother died, and he created another industry that didn't exist, which was an agent for presenters on TV.
Okay.
Which, hello. Presenter on TV here. And so he produced video. So he created two industries. And he's a larger-than-life character, you know, and everything else. So my childhood is, well, I know what's possible. And I could have been like a kid that lived in the shadows of my father, of course. But seeing his journey and how it unfolded, and I've observed him, this is the gift of those who are, you know, a generation above us. And we can judge them for all their wrongness and everything else. But when you actually look at the other side and you own the traits, and I've owned my father's traits that what I could have seen as bad, and I've lived it. When I own it, then I can appreciate it, and then I can evolve. Mm-hmm. That's evolution, right? Mm-hmm. The next generation, you stand on the shoulders of giants. My father's a giant. Of course. He created two things that didn't exist before.
Yeah,
so why can't we
wow.
create the new Earth?
Yes.
Why can't we make this go all around the world?
Why can't you
we
give
make the
people
new
a
Earth?
manual as well? Like,
Exactly. And
let's
this is
give
what's coming
something
together.
tangible.
And it's tangible. it's so I'm working on it. It's going to come out. My 42nd birthday is I put it out there now. Oh my, edit this out, should I? Edit it out. No, I'm just kidding.
I just turned 42 on Saturday, right? As Pluto
Mazel
merged
tov.
into Aquarius. I don't really I
okay.
don't know, but I know it was a significant.
yeah.
I felt the impact in my body.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, 42. I am loving 42. This is where I feel like
You're coming to your own.
yeah, I've done all of the. It's like I've been trekking around with this big backpack, and I've walked all the paths I wanted to walk, and I've collected all of these stones and herbs and all of these, my favorite things. And now I'm ready to drop the backpack and I don't know.
Just be.
Just be. Yeah, just be. And trust that I'm ready. Yeah. Oh, this is just coming up now. This is beautiful. I'm ready. Whatever it is, I'm ready. And I'm not really sure how it looks. Yeah, I have a bit of a sense of how it feels. Yeah. I don't know what it is though, but I just know that I've stepped into it, and 42 to me was that's the transition. Yeah, I felt all the other cycles, I've lived them, I've done the work that was required within those cycles, but this one doesn't seem like the same work. I don't need my backpack, I don't need my map, I don't need any of that anymore. I'm just ready to go wherever that is.
Wow.
Sorry, that was a beautiful, that just came up. That was
so this is what needed to come out.
Yeah.
You're feeling the readiness of it because because you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
And I think what we're saying and connecting to is, I know there's other people who think we might be mad and are not ready to hear it or whatever else, but it doesn't matter what other people are ready to hear or not.
Yeah.
Those who want to resonate towards something, go, I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
That there is something else that we can go to, not choosing sides. Like they just want to, because there is the need of insatiable need for the ego to choose a side, to feel righteous, to make somebody else wrongtious. And I've been there, so I can't say nothing. And I used to watch the videos and be like, there's, you can go in especially in the political field.
I was right. I got right in there. Like if anyone got right in there, I got right.
And the
in
emotional
there.
payoff and everything. And then you think to yourself, wait a minute, I'm getting caught and hypnotized in this. What am I actually doing with my life? Like, is this where I'm going to spend my time? Like, who's benefiting off this,
I know. You kind of step back at some points and go, I don't actually really care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a part of you that steps back and goes, I can actually do both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could be on this side today and this side tomorrow. I can encompass it all. But if I step back, and it's not that I don't care. I don't like to use that word because, I love so deeply. And to say that I don't care is a cop-out because I can be anything, anywhere, all at once, really.
That's fair enough.
I think what I've realised, and I think this is going to be a key in people's moving forward, is while you're choosing a side, you're not recognising your own power and the nature of our reality. What if we literally were creating it? In every moment, every thought, you're projecting this reality around you. What then? If people knew that was an actual fact, that what you from your pineal gland, you are literally projecting and creating this reality in every single given moment. So it's not about choosing sides, but taking responsibility for the creation that you are a part of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Taking responsibility and asking yourself, okay, why am I choosing a side? And who's leading that side that I'm following right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because those who say they found the truth run from, and those who are still seeking it run towards.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like, though, looks like these guys have found the truth. Well, the only truth that we found is that there's a universal law at play that governs all of our lives. And once we realize that, and it's not about sides anymore, then we can go into a place of unity, into love. So then how can we create from that place? Because how can we create from a place of, I'm on this side, I want to create from here. Well, then you're going to just create the polarity of the other side. So then you're in this cycle of madness. And you're just going round and round and round. When you're in a place of love, there is no more round and round. There's no more duality. It's just a matter of creation. Just a matter of spirit manifesting itself into the material form in the here and now,
which is
that we all
so
get to share
awesome.
and experience. It's like, isn't that a little bit more attractive? You know, because then everyone can get together. This is what the New Earth Cafe sort of embodies, because our food is, it's like I'm doing a little plug here.
I felt it when I came in.
Have you been here before?
Okay. The very first time I walked into this place, so I was looking for something to fit my own needs. And I didn't come here deliberately, mind you. I was meaning to go somewhere else.
Isn't that always the case?
So I walked in that door and I felt this, this is it. I didn't know really what this is it exactly was, I just had this feeling in my body. It's even the stone that you've got here on the ground. I can kick my shoes off in a cafe in Dubai and have my feet touching stone. And I know the earth's under this, like it's under there. This place is something else. I can feel it's more than the chairs and the tables and the walls and the beautiful decor. There is something in this place that as soon as you walk in here, it's like this, it's giving me goosebumps. It's this sense of home, this sense of, the world's out there and this is it's something else. So sorry, I took over your plug there.
But it's take over more often.
It really is. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. I've unwound in here in a way that I didn't see. I didn't know what was going to happen, but it's everything. It's all the details, I have to say. It's the way you've shaped doorways, the way everything in here feels divine. Thank you.
Made out of love. Love is the secret recipe here, and it's no secret. I mean, you know, my wife and I mean, it just came to us. This place just came. It was not something we were seeking. I just realized my whole life has been leading up to this, as it has, you know, like all of ours. And I remember my father saying years ago, like, you know, how tribes, when they first came together, you know, from one place meeting a new tribe, they would meet over food. And if they didn't like each other's food, then they wouldn't get on. It was simple as that.
I can relate to that.
You see? So, especially some people who are vegans and some people are, you know, fruitarians and some people are meat eaters, how can they connect when they all eat different foods, right? And they can't sit over and have a meal somewhere. Well, you know, New Earth Cafe, we integrate the plant-based way, but we do offer milk and a coffee, organic, of course, and we also offer eggs.
I noticed that one day.
and you know what? I give it to my our friend who came into the beginning of New Earth, but they left at the beginning also. Just different visions that we had, and he said, you know, suggested eggs, and I was like, I didn't want any cruelty, and I realized, well, chickens don't need a rooster to lay an egg. They're literally here to say, look after me and I'll look after you.
They're going to lay those eggs.
So you're going to lay the eggs and it's nutritional, and I love them and they're versatile. That's the protein that people may think they're missing from a plant-based restaurant. So we have all these nutritional meals, and it's around the chakras. So it's the color, it's the vibrancy, it's to reflect in the body. And all the food is so vibrant that it's not normal food, but people go like vegan restaurants and stuff. There's only certain foods you feel like it's on the menu, but we have so many different choices. Like, and people don't know they're missing anything. That means that everybody can connect over food.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
We sat around a table here, and I saw that the lady who ordered the ramen noodles got an egg in there. So this joy overfilled my body. I was like, there's eggs here as well. This is amazing. I ordered the tagliatelle.
Oh, the mushroom tagliatelle, eh? The truffle. Oy.
Now, that should not be so good in my world without cream and cheese. Like, honestly, I ate that and just thought, what magic is happening here that this tastes so good and I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. And I love food. Like, food's to me, it's a great pleasure. It's like, we could literally, as humans, get by without food if we tapped into our own ultimate energy source.
Yeah. A prana.
I get all of that, but regardless, I still want to eat food.
It's true.
You know, it's just beautiful. And the juices, when I come in and I see the juice menu, it's like a way of checking in with myself. Oh, what do I need today? Which chakra juice do I need?
That's the whole point.
Right.
So your body tells you, well, what do I need? Yeah.
It's like...
That's awesome.
I love that because it takes away I have to connect with my chakras and figure it out, which we're just not always in that place to do that. Yeah, I enjoy my humanness.
Yeah.
I do. So I love those like, it naturally gives me this guide back to that, yeah, without any effort or hype or, you need to sit and meditate for 5 minutes to choose your juice. Well, no, you've designed it in such a way that my body and my mind, we just know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Instinctively, I'll have that one.
Yeah, it's really, it's awesome. And
that's awesome to hear.
The energy of them, I often go for the root chakra one, and
it's one of my favorites as well.
That's because I know I can often be out floating about. So I find that, and I drink that juice and I feel it. Yeah, and that's pretty cool. And this is not even me trying to give you a plug at all. It's just...
Well, take it.
Yeah, when you mention that, it's just what's here for me. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for creating this.
Wow. I mean, it's... you know what? It's so awesome to hear that because you never know when you put something else like that, is anybody going to resonate with it or not? And, because we're in a community area, it's very seasonal and you never know what's going to happen. But because of that, these new ideas are popping out, and the idea of the New Earth Cafe is that we have pods all around the world and that we do a podcast from every place. And somebody who represents like me in, say, Australia, we're working with them and training them up because of the manual and the story and everything else that they get to embody and connect to their higher self, and they get to represent the New Earth in their country.
This is awesome.
So everybody can then interview everybody in their community. And it brings it out. The local community becomes the global community.
And this is what you're creating. I can feel it right here in this moment. Yeah, this connection that you're even creating right here. This has changed my world. I will go away today feeling more connected, and that will bring it's feeling something for me. Yeah, that then I can go away and work more with. It's like this expanded energy. Yeah, I get what you're quite incredible. Well done. You're doing it. It's beautiful. Thanks.
It's the higher self, I tell you, because when you read the story of who Alex was,
I get this picture every time you say it, and I have to say two things. Yeah. One, as we've sat here and had this conversation, I have a great love for your father. For some reason, I sit here, and every time you've spoken about him, I feel this appreciation. Yeah, this it's like a part of me almost giggles and goes, oh, good on him.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what I'm feeling is not what I think he would be perceived as. What a beautiful man. And then there's this second part that when you talk about the idiot Alex, I get this giggle inside and I'm like, he would be a very funny guy to observe over time. Like
The evolution of Alex.
that is something I would watch, and I think it's so beautiful that you've been able to. That I feel that the lack of judgment here. Yeah, that you can see it for what it is.
Yeah.
And that there's love here for that idiot Alex. Yeah.
There is.
There really is. And that's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you
love
so
that.
much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So is there anything else you would like to share, get off now, before we may conclude this particular one? And I don't think it's the last time you'll be on this, that's for sure.
No, I just feel like such a big release has happened here today. I told you how nervous I was when I started, that I've never done anything like this before. I have never, ever spoken about my childhood in a public forum, ever. I didn't know that I could or would, to be honest.
You did incredible.
Yeah, so I'm quite. I didn't prepare for that to come out. Yeah, and I know it may have seemed like I tiptoed on things, and you know, given that the subject matter, that was what I was comfortable with today. Yeah, that's what was there.
Maybe we'll do a part 2.
Yeah, I will. Now that this is here, I can mentally prepare for that, because what I've noticed in this is when I have spoken about it, I've got this almost this longing inside to just say to people, it's okay. Whatever you are going through, I promise you, no matter how dark it is, no matter how scary it may seem, you've got this. Like I put everything that I am into that. Like that's the truth. And so I feel there's a little bit more for me to explore there. So thanks. Thanks for creating this space where I feel safe enough and loved enough to be able to open into that and share.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for showing up and just seeing some of our stuff and going, you know what, I'm gonna take that opportunity. That I admire immensely, because that is how I've got to where I am, and I think that's how you got to where you are, because you weren't afraid to take action. Yes, it's scary and it's uncomfortable and whatever else, but how else are you going to grow? How else are you going to confront, you know, all of that dark shadow aspect of yourself, knowing that you're going to be the light that shows up in every challenge, because you have in the past.
Yep.
And you're not the child anymore.
No.
You come out of that. You're now out of the soil. You're now seeing the light, and you're now growing towards that light, which is yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just going to keep on growing. And this is, you know, this is the sunlight. This is photosynthesis right now, because you're being observed, you know. And, you know, it means that it no longer has a hold on you anymore, whatever that was.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a freedom here. There's still a part of me that's holding on to it a little, going...
Well, let's go over it a little bit.
Yeah.
What is that?
What is that? It is just that, it's that fear of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Not judgment in the way of what are people going to think about me. More of... Whoa. How much is okay to say, really? That's a question that I have inside, because I've never thought about telling this story, about sharing this. It's like I haven't had that internal conversation that's gone, what is okay to share?
Somehow you just blurt it out and then just let the world decide. And in fact, it's not even the world to decide. Everything is comes down to, you know, who are we to say what is wrong or right? What's the word I'm looking for? It's the when we define something as wrong or right, what is that? It's not our perception, it's morality. Is that the word? Morality. It's, the idea of one person says something's wrong in one country, but it's legal in another country.
Yeah,
Morality.
It's what's culturally and socially acceptable, what's okay,
well,
and what's
in the new
not.
earth, everything's acceptable in the sense of whatever's shared is shared, because once it's out, it doesn't eat you up anymore.
That is beautiful.
It just needs to be out of you to then go unpack it and go, whew, that's the medicine, having the space to talk, which then gives other people permission to hear it, to do whatever they hear it as, to integrate it, and to allow them to feel they can have the permission to heal. And that's what you're doing. That's what we're doing, giving people the space to heal. So it's up to you to give yourself that space to heal now. Or I don't think you're the kind of person who wants to hold on to something. I feel like you want to purge it out.
No, it's coming out now. It's just acknowledging that bravery is here and courage is here. It's just, whoa, this is new. So allowing the space for it to be here and naturally evolve. What I've said is perfect. What I will say in the future will be perfect. That's it. So, yeah, that's that. That's nice. That was a nice release. Yeah. So, yeah, and getting rid of all the thoughts around it, letting those wash away now. So,
well, it's nerve-wracking. I feel it because there's certain things I haven't said public yet that I feel is easier to write down, contextualize it and put it out there, and then I can talk about it all. The stories and everything else. So that's my modality of what I'm putting here, but I'm giving the space to others who may not want to do that, and they may just want to speak it out and just go, oh, there's a space, because I'm not here to, nothing anybody could say I'm going to look at and judge, no matter what it is. I'm just going to be like, okay, whatever that experience is, if you've murdered someone or whatever it is, like, okay, who am I to judge? Okay, whatever your experience is, whatever it is. So just be like, wow, that must have been hard for you to hold on to for as long as you had. And isn't it better that it's out, so that if it's not and it's unresolved, then you'll keep attracting those situations until it is. So isn't it better for society that it's out, that we don't make it mean anything, that we can release it, and then it's just then we have free space to fill it with something else. Because if we're met with acceptance and love, then that vacuum that's going to be created, because the universe abhors a vacuum, will be filled with love, understanding, appreciation. But it can only be filled with that once the space has been created, by releasing the very story that doesn't think you're deserving of that. Because that little part of you that's still holding on, that goes, well, if I share that, then that person's view of me may change. And then I lose whatever I think I've lost in that moment. Because they might have me in one way, but then this story, then they may see me in another way. But what is really seen is the courage, the courageousness of that person, i.e. you, when they do share it, go, wow, that's courageous, because everybody has that in them that they're holding back. And everybody's just waiting for that one person to share it, so that it gives them permission to be free from it as well. Because it's the idea of judgment of other people. But when it's out of you, you just don't give a monkeys anyway.
Right.
You're just like, well, there you go. Like,
that's done.
Like, I had my issues that I had to share. Like, I mean, I was a naughty boy growing up. I had a company called Mischief. And I read it in the Quran and the Bible going, mischief, hell. Oh, this is quite interesting. Like, these are like my life stories. So when you mischievous and, in being different people, and with my ex, the idiot Alex wouldn't wear protection a lot of the times in these situations, like, hello, but it was like I was seeking some realization that, my father was a promiscuous guy, and that's what he valued, women and things like this. And he lived that lifestyle, and for us, that was a currency. It was more important than anything else. Right. It was getting laid. Yeah. It was like he was a rock and roller, and there's women and things like this. So I thought I had to be that way to be recognized as a man, which is basically all in the amygdala. Because lust, it's running after women. And when I met that my ex, you can call it the twin flame, whatever it is. It was all of my sort of desires personified in this person that I could act out the idiot with, you know, in the fact I was coming from just instinct, reactive, and, you know, the drama and seeking the pleasure without the pain, until the universe gave me something, you know, which, like the herpes, right? You have it here and have it down here. It's that, oh my God, something's coming, it's permanent forever. And you get told that. And I had a chat with somebody who does the Dr. John DeMartini method, and they said, okay, so somebody said that you have something. And for me, I couldn't even say this out loud, like 8 years ago, you know. For me, I was shamed. Like, for me, I had the hoodie over and I was like this, you know.
Yeah.
I wanted to top myself, because I thought I was going to be unlovable for the rest of my life, you know, because that's your intimacy, it's the man, and who am I without that?
Right, yeah.
You know,
right.
and it's actually a lot more common than people actually realize. So when the guy says, you know, it's forever, that's what they said. I said to him straight away, nope, don't tell me that's your belief, sunshine.
Yep.
I'm not buying into that.
No,
and
thanks.
So there I was, my homeostasis, I was challenged and support came in, because I'm that kind of guy, right? Authority said something, nah, I'm going to find a way and deal with it. What does it really mean? What is a virus? What is it all mean? It's a chip, it's a program.
Yes.
And we all have the virus, and virus is not a bad thing. Disease is just a feedback mechanism guiding us back towards equilibrium, back to love.
Information.
And I was going the wrong way. I was infatuated and I was looking for pleasure, and then the universe gave me this to go, boom, bring you back into balance.
Come back
Okay. And I was like devastated, but it moved me in the direction I needed to go towards where I am today. And it took me many years to confront that, and the stress of that situation and the perceived idea of, you know, how I thought life should be, and now I had something that was forever, but I didn't admit it was or agree it was. That stress then created the virus to appear.
Yep.
Because disease is just a feedback mechanism, because it's to bring us back into equilibrium. Because if we have a perception, an extreme perception of event, then we invoke illness to bring us back into equilibrium. That's why cancer is formed.
Yes.
And I came to this realization recently. Like, my mother, she had cancer, and I thought my father's misbehaving and everything else, you know, and and you kind of like think to blame somebody for it. And I realized I didn't really blame anybody for it. I just, felt abandoned, because why did my mum not want to live?
Yeah.
So her extreme perception about my father, because they were going to get a divorce, but then they didn't because she got cancer, from what I know. So she created cancer, subconsciously, because she wanted my father to stay. Yep. So her perceived perception of my father being one extreme manifested this illness that ate away at her.
Yeah.
But it kept my father close, where he could, take care of her as best he could. Whilst he was taking care of his own needs, who are we to judge and say what's wrong?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's put it all in his book, so he's just like, that's who I am. From Here to Obscurity is his book.
From Here to Obscurity.
Yeah, that's my father for you.
That's a great title.
So, and I realized it was my mother's perception. She created that illness within herself. And she needed to do what she needed to do and go in order for me to get the experience I needed to get to become who I am today.
Yeah.
So I manifested this illness, this virus, that I judged and shamed. And I've met, I know so many people suffer from it and they keep it secret because they're ashamed because of the stigma. And the reason I'm sharing it now, first time publicly, is because I want to give you the space to share yours.
Yeah.
Because when it's not said, it owns you still.
It does, yeah. And I am intimately aware of this now. I believe we will do a part 2. And in that part 2, we'll uncover what
when you're ready for part 2, let me know. But for me, it was like this is being freeing for me as well.
Yeah. Even without the part 2, I feel great. I did not see this coming, and I don't know why. I don't like to use the word proud for some reason.
Because if you're proud, then you attract shame.
All right, that's why. Because I can't say what I'm feeling
elated
is a sense of well done. Just to
Acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement.
Appreciation.
Appreciation
to the inner child, the one that was scared, the one that was maybe to step up and
That's
be
it.
seen.
Even to my ego. Yeah, because no matter how much work we do, the ego seems to still. We could do a whole nother podcast on this. I love that aspect of myself. I do. It's going to be what it is. It's going to do what it does. So I'm deeply grateful that there is enough connection here that I could sit here wholeheartedly and consciously share this. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Without that,
well,
that's
look,
what
at
I'm
the end of the day,
appreciative of.
everybody's on their journey. We're going through our own process. There's a part of us that feels like there's a space. Is it ready? I'm a lot closer than I was before. You just getting on here was one thing.
Yeah.
Let it integrate. When you feel ready to jump on and do the second part, the space is always open. I'm sure everybody would love to hear it will comment and say whatever they're going to say. You know, we're new, so it takes a bit of time anyway.
Yeah.
You know, but right now it's not about who sees it.
No,
it's nothing about this. This is it.
This is perfect.
This is it.
If no one saw this, I wouldn't mind. This is more than enough for me. Perfect.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Emily. And let's make sure we do it again very soon.
Okay.
Yeah?
All right.
All right, awesome.
Deal.